Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Bronx Health REACH's quarterly coalition meeting and our last coalition meeting for the year. I'm Charmaine Ruddock. I'm the director of Bronx Health REACH, and tomorrow will mark my 20th anniversary with Bronx Health REACH at the Institute for Family Health. I think there's no one who, no one in this country, if not maybe this world, who cannot say this has been a momentous year for all of us. We've had a pandemic like nobody has ever imagined. We hear it's the pandemic of the century, and there are, for most of us, not just the coronavirus pandemic, but there's been the pandemic of economic displacement because of the coronavirus. There's the pandemic of racial discord, unrest, challenges. So this has been a year for the history books. But we've also shown for many of us in the Bronx, that was the epicenter, when New York was the epicenter, a huge resilience in terms of these multiple pandemics that we faced. And so on behalf of Bronx Health REACH, I just want to say a hearty congratulations to our coalition members, partners, those who have done amazingly in their own rights, in their own respect, to power through this pandemic, who continues to show fortitude and to look forward to the new year. I'm not one of those who's saying, oh, I can't wait for 2021 to come because I know the pandemic will not disappear, January 1st, 2021. But what I'm looking forward to and will continue to look forward to is how we will, as a community, work to address the pandemic. We will do our best to keep ourselves and our families safe. We will mask up, we will social distance, we will listen to the health experts. And then we will continue to do the work that we've been doing in our respective areas. So once again, welcome. Really glad to see everyone that's on here with us. As a reminder, please put your phone on silent, or if you're on this Zoom meeting, put yourself on silent. I want us to just take a minute, a moment of silence to remember all those who have passed in this season of crisis and distress, and to be grateful for the lives they've lived and what they've contributed to our joint humanity. So we're going to take a quick minute and then we're going to start in on our agenda. So this has become a standard feature for us in our December meeting, when Bronx Health REACH, with our partners and coalition members, community members, whoever is joining us for our last meeting of the year, we take time to look back at what the year has brought. And as you can see from the screen, what you're looking at, COVID-19 came early and caught all of our attention. Next slide. And when COVID-19 came, Bronx Health REACH and our partners had to quickly pivot to address the impact that COVID-19 had on us. And so among the things that Bronx Health REACH did for COVID-19, we had one of our partners, Kids in the Game, get together with others and donate clothes and foods to churches in the Bronx who are faith-based partners. We cannot say enough of them, how even outside of COVID-19, they've always been on the cutting edge of addressing so many of the social needs that we have. And as they did in other times, they stepped up and started to meet those needs. And partners like Kids in the Games and others stepped up there to support them with this. Other thing, we had sites like that received the donations: Church of God of Prophecy, St. Jerome Hands Community Center, Church Alive, Pentecostal Temple of the Living God, Grand Concourse Seventh-day Adventist Church, among many. We also knew that when the governor announced the pause in March, and we had to stay indoors, that people were deeply concerned about not being able to go outside and even exercise safely, be able to just to walk up and down, if anything. And so our partner Transportation Alternatives, along with others, strongly promoted the Open Streets program. That was a network of connected car-free streets that would allow residents in local communities to just get outside, walk around, bike, or take the bus if necessary. Next slide. We also had, with our schools were another place where they came face to face with the needs. And so we had our staff member that has been working with our schools as part of our community, creating healthy schools and community work. Mariah Burnzelloff started to reach out to schools, hold conference calls, providing information and trainings on the pandemic electronic benefit transfer that we were glad the government realized the need that there was, that people, children who had been used to getting meals at their schools were no longer getting meals with the schools closed. And so with the enhanced PBT, we wanted to get the word out to the parents and other partners. Mariah worked hard to connect school districts with people who were who had information or could provide services on COVID-19 and mental health. We connected parents who were concerned about how could they access the PBT. Through Mariah, we were able to help them connect with the experts at HRA and Hunger Free America. The slide that you're looking at was our June and September coalition meetings, where we asked our partners and community members to talk about what their experience had been like. For those who were able to join us, I'm sure none of you will have forgotten the many riveting stories. Two that stand to mind was we had a principal on talking that all that they had to do to meet this pandemic. We also heard from those who ran food pantries, who were at the forefront of this significantly increased need for food with so many people not working. And I remember in particular the experience that was shared with us by one of our trusted members of the West African community, who spoke powerfully and movingly of how many people had died. How many in the West African community, those who had been cab drivers, who had been unwittingly some of the first exposed to COVID-19 in the passengers that they encountered. And because they were immigrants, many of them undocumented, they went home to their apartments when they were sick, and many of them unfortunately died because they were not able to access healthcare. Next slide. I'm just going to do a check. Dr. Long, did you, or anybody on Dr. Long's team, did you join us as yet? Okay. So as part of the work that has been ramped up to address the COVID-19 epidemic, the city and health and hospital corporations funded several organizations across the city. The Institute for Family Health, which is Bronx Health REACH's parent organization, got funding to do community outreach and engagement around the T2 initiative. And so you're looking at members of the team under the Stevenson Family Health Center. That's Joseph Ellis, Yolanda Benitez, and Sheku and Umar. We distributed masks. We cannot say enough of a thank you, not only to the city for providing masks, but a big partner of ours was Trinity Church in Manhattan that supplied us with thousands of masks that we've been able to distribute. We also distributed hand sanitizers, and we, the T2 team went to businesses, faith-based organizations, churches, mosques, small businesses, larger businesses, all throughout the community to not only share PPE with folks, but to let folks know about the testing. Where was the testing occurring? When was the testing occurring? And then what happened if they gave them some heads up about what would happen if they tested positive, and they would be contacted by the test and trace staff that the city and health and hospital corporation had hired to make sure that as many people who got tested, showed positive, knew what they had to do in terms of quarantining. If those who were not able to quarantine from their families were given access to hotel accommodations. Next slide. So we know that racism did not start with the death of George Floyd, nor with Breonna Taylor. One of the underlying principles for Bronx Health REACH has been to ground the work around eliminating racial and ethnic health disparities with the reality of the fact that racism is a significant determining factor in the health disparities that's being experienced in the Bronx, in New York City, New York State, and across the country. We just had what happened with George Floyd and others really built a momentum of we have got to do something. Next slide. In March, though, we had a training. A group came. It was so interesting that at that training, COVID-19 had just started to be in the news, and we knew nothing was known about social distancing at that time. We knew that we weren't to shake each other's hands. So I can remember us doing elbow bumps and sort of high fives. But I also remember at this meeting, we were in small groups, breathing in each other's faces. But that notwithstanding, we had a robust conversation, a very active conversation around racism, the experiences of racism, the systemic and institutionalized racism that lies at the core of the experience of racial and ethnic health disparities. And it challenged those of us who were there to think about what we should be doing to undo racism in our respective work and even in our respective lives. Next slide. We continued having a really robust dialogue on racism, its manifestation, understanding the history of it, why we experience poverty, why we experience poor housing, why we're having the challenges with healthcare, the challenges to accessing healthy food, etc. And we did this by holding 2 summits in June. I remember it was, I think by coincidence, happenstance, that we had one of them on June 19th, Juneteenth. And we're particularly happy with the people. This was these two meetings, these 2 symposiums were actually really led by our faith-based organization. We have, for those of you who are not involved in our faith-based initiative, we have a robust faith-based initiative that meets monthly, and they were the brains behind getting this. We had some speakers that really provided us with a sense of the big context of understanding the work that we're doing and how we move it along. I particularly want to highlight Milta Vega Cardona, who was not new to Bronx Health REACH. She had been a partner with us many years ago. She talked about the effects of race and racism on health outcomes in the United States. We had Dr. Oni Blackstock from Advancing Health Equity and Racial Disparities in Healthcare, really ground us in racism in the healthcare system. And I also want to acknowledge Pastor John from Word of Life International, who talked about the role of houses of worship in undoing racism and tackling racism. Next slide. So a big part of Bronx Health REACH's work over the years has been nutrition. And where we did some, even with COVID-19 basically consuming most of the year, our partners did some amazing work. Next slide. So I particularly like this slide on our breastfeeding initiative that shows quite a few men in that training that we had with 5 partner sites: Urban Horizons Health Center, Stevenson, a mosque whose name I'm not gonna call because I know I'm gonna just mess it up, Agape Transportation Management and Sienna House. You know, one of the things that we found with this training is that even when they were, particularly with the mosque, when they were not a lot of female leaders from the mosque to attend, we had male members of the mosque attending the this breastfeeding training. It was also instructive for us that with our breastfeeding work, we had one of the business improvement districts indicate their interest in providing rooms in their businesses that would allow women to safely breastfeed. Next slide. Healthy children, healthy families. From starting off with breastfeeding, which hopefully all of us know is those very early years where you want children to get the best nutrition. We then, and that breastfeeding initiative was a brand new initiative for us. We ended our 3-year initiative earlier this year in February, our Healthy Children, Healthy Families initiative that had as its focus, how do we as families encourage our children to eat healthier and to be more physically active. This was an initiative that was funded, that was part of a national initiative. We had several faith-based organizations participating in it, and the important strategies that were taught and hopefully adopted and employed going forward, even though this initiative ended, was the goals were decreasing consumption of sugary drinks, really decreasing sedentary time, that is how much time children and families were spending either on their computers or watching TV, with the goal of people increasing their physical activity. It was a strong partnership with Kids in the Game to make exercising for the whole family fun and something that people look forward to more than just a chore. In total, we had 240 parents, or if you are not parents, adults who took care of the children, and 291 children participated. We had a total of 22 faith-based organizations in the Bronx included in this effort. Next slide. We've had our Don't Stress, Eat Fresh campaign for the last 2-3 years. We got funding again this year from the City Council to continue with this I want to say a marketing campaign, a communications campaign, where we highlight in our partner bodegas the healthy food that they're offering and encouraging them to go in and go in and ask for these healthier foods. We went high tech with part of this campaign. We had something called geofencing, which enabled community residents who were walking by a participating healthy bodega store to receive, and they had a smartphone. They would note on their smartphone, a message would come up that this was a participating store, and they could receive a coupon and redeem a bottle of water if they went into that store. In that geofencing campaign, we had more than 18 million impressions, meaning people who got that notification come up on their smartphone. Next slide. We have been doing a bodega initiative for more than a decade, and we continue to think that this is an important partnership. And so we added a new element to our bodega work that was supported by the American Heart Association and our Creating Healthy Schools and community funding from New York State Department of Health. Working with a partner, Sean Butler, who is a huge community advocate around several things, including including healthy eating. We had Fairway, now called Village Supermarkets, partner with us and bodega owners to bring in healthy food, grab-and-go items in 3 bodegas. Green Earth Food Corporation, G Deli, and Billy's Deli Grocery. We also had a community resident who we have deemed our fresh ambassador, who encourages community residents to come into those stores and get and purchase the healthier food items that are in there. From the American Heart Association, we were able to get funding for countertop refrigerated units, fridges, small fridges on the countertops where the food can be served and therefore kept healthier. We also trained some youth leaders at PS 36. This was before COVID-19 to showcase the healthy food and this healthy initiative. Next slide. Our Healthy Pantry initiative, part of that effort saw us do some training in August with 2 Bronx food pantries, Manna Ministries and Resurrection and Life, providing them with technical assistance to support them in the procurement of food and the distribution of healthier local grown food. Next slide. Our Farm Share program has been a very important one for us. We first launched it in partnership with Corbin Hill at Stevenson Health Center in August. Even though we were in the midst of COVID-19, Word of Life began a Farm Share program to provide more fresh and local produce to the people who came to their pantry for food, to their congregants, and even to nearby residents. On average, 25 people participated in the program on a weekly basis. This pantry that serves a significant need in the Bronx actually had to shut down in March when the entire staff came down with COVID-19. We were glad to see them reopen in May because the need in that community, people were hungry, unable to feed themselves because of COVID-19. And so this is an important provider of food to those in need. And so we were really happy that they reopened in May, and extremely gratified to see them start the Farm Share program in August. Next slide. We've been doing our Health Rocks program in partnership with several of our faith-based partners, and we were worried that with COVID-19 what would happen. Well, boy, we found that it was an unfounded worry. Through our faith-based partners, they applied for and distributed almost 4,500 Health Bucks program. That's almost 4,500 Health Bucks coupons. They were able to complete 9 social distance farmers market walking tours. And We will, later on in the program, acknowledge some of the champions of this Health Box program. Next slide. So we had been working on an initiative that would demonstrate to a number of our partners how to make the food that they were providing to their clientele healthier. Of course, COVID-19 stopped all plans that was to have this happen in person, but not to be stopped. We took the cooking classes virtual. And so Bronx Eat, an organization that offers hands-on cooking classes, took this virtually. They taught basic cooking skills, highlighting the use of healthier recipes. They provided a cooking demonstration to the coalition in which Chef Don prepared something that most of us would not have thought of: butternut squash mac and cheese, chickpea mushroom meatloaf, baked apple turnovers. 26 participants attended those classes at two of our faith-based organizations, Church of God of Prophecy and Tremont United. Next slide. Another virtual cooking class that we did, Old Ways Heritage virtual cooking class. You're looking at a long-time Bronx Health REACH partner, Lois Godfrey. Through that class, we held, it was a 6-week virtual cooking class. Our chef included Tanya Lopez, where we did a taste of Latin America heritage, and we did a taste of African heritage. Next slide. We know that healthy living includes not only healthy eating, but active living. Where people can go out and enjoy their green spaces. I was on a call listening yesterday and heard Assemblyman Victor Pichada talk about the need for reinvestment in green spaces in the Bronx, and I applauded him for that. One of the work that we've been doing is with a partner, Bronx River Alliance. We have been partnering with them on the Starlight Park Phase 2 that they've been working on. They completed Stage 3 in February of this year, and completed another stage in June of this year. The work has been primarily around Bronx River Greenway parks and trails. We did an evaluation. We surveyed more than 700 Bronx residents to ask them about trail usership and what the utilization rates are looking like. We will do the analysis of that survey and provide findings to the coalition later in 2021. Next slide. So we've been working with transportation alternatives for a number of years to make sure that our streets are pedestrian friendly. People can walk safely, bike safely, etc. One of the things that we have been working with transportation alternatives on is to engage more community residents in it, to let the people who make decisions around what our streets should look like know that there is huge community support for it. We had a virtual training with Urban Cycling Solutions. 38 people attended that training. We've been reviewing the benefits to them of active transportation, showing examples of complete streets improvement, doing a virtual walk audit of 4 dangerous Bronx intersections that our partners have identified for us. Next slide. It is amazing what we've been able to do virtually. So a newer partner of our Southbridge Fitness Center was able to offer 8 virtual fitness classes per week. They had between 5 to 12 participants for each session. They also did a 22-week diabetes prevention program that was offered virtually, and have been doing a series of weekly newsletters, encouraging people to live healthier lives, giving them tips that they can do even during a time of COVID-19. Next slide. So many of you have participated in Boogie on the Boulevard. Well, and for those of you who may be new to us and to this, Boogie on the Boulevard is where several blocks of the Grand Concourse is closed off. It used to be one day every month during the summer months, and then last year it was just one day. But several blocks are closed off. There is physical activity going on. There's healthy eating going on. It's a real fun day, but it showcases how people can live healthier lifestyles right there in the Bronx. Well, who knew that Boogie could go virtual, but it did. So we had a virtual Boogie this year. Partners hosted virtual cooking classes. There were virtual workouts. There was civic engagement. There were mindful activities throughout the month of July. We want to give a shout out to Church of God of Prophecy that led a fitness class and a nutrition trivia games with prizes. Grand Concourse Seventh-day Adventist Church led a scavenger hunt with a fruits and veggies themes, and also had a cooking demonstration. Next slide. We're almost finished. So we've had other initiatives. Through the, next slide. Through the City Council, we have had funding to go out into the community, particularly in the immigrant undocumented community, and let them know about health services that they can have access to. As I mentioned earlier, one of the most distressing experiences we had told to us was what happened with so many of the West African cab drivers who did not realize that when they came down sick, not even knowing it was COVID-19, they could have gone to health centers. The Institute for Family Health runs federally qualified health centers where one's immigration status is never asked. Our health and hospitals are open to anyone who comes in. And so our immigrant health initiative is to go out there in the community and really let folks know about the access to healthcare that they have. It's something we're particularly committed to, and we've had 2 amazing community health advocates that have gone out into the community, really getting to where people are who we might not have been able to engage without their knowledge of their particular community. Next slide. So for those of you who don't know, our REACH funding primarily, or the majority of our funding for Bronx Health REACH comes from the CDC, their REACH initiative. And REACH stands for Racial and Ethnic Approaches to Community Health. Well, CDC, and CDC is the funder, CDC decided that they have some real concerns about the flu season. And so they gave additional funds to us this year to mount an intensive flu vaccine campaign. What you're looking at was the official launch of the campaign this Tuesday, December 1st. We're treating the whole month as a month-long campaign to get the word out to people that they need to and should get their flu shots. We've had a wonderful partnership with the DOH, our local health action center, and I'm pretty sure Anita will say, Charmaine, you still got it wrong, but that's the last name of theirs that has stuck in my mind. But DOH introduced us to Walgreens, that has been going out into the community and offering flu shots to people, particularly those who don't have health insurance. And so this was the launch of it at Church of God of Prophecy. We welcome our faith-based partners. We cannot say enough of how amazing they've been. So you're looking at Councilmember Gibson, a man from one of our participating mosques, Reverend McKay, who is the lead pastor at Church of God of Prophecy, Anita Reyes from the Department of Health, and Mariah Burns-Zeloff, who is managing this initiative. If you haven't already, please get your flu shot. If you know of people in your circle who have not had their flu shots, please encourage them to get their flu shots. It is even more important than ever because we're in the time of the pandemic. Next slide. And particularly, you know, like a parent, you should never say you have a favorite. But I love all the initiatives that we do. We're fully engaged, but I must say that this initiative, this men's health workshop, came because Joseph Ellis, a longtime member of Bronx Health REACH staff, had this on his heart for some time, recognizing that men are not getting the health care that they need, that men may have questions that about their health, but they're not confident asking about those questions. And so Joseph spearheaded with our regional health director, Dr. Eric Gale, to hold a men's workshop. We were thrilled that we had so many men come out, you know, talk frankly about some of the health issues that they were concerned about, felt comfortable sharing it there, just among themselves. We persuaded some who had wives and who were saying, why aren't we coming? We were like, well, why don't you just let them come by themselves this time? Unfortunately, COVID-19 stopped this happening, but we're looking to restart it, even if we have to do it virtually. Next slide. We presented at the annual American Public Health Association conference on the work that we are doing around making streets safer. As you can see here, we showcase the work that we're doing on the Grand Concourse and the necessity of that work. Next slide. So as usual, we try to communicate as widely as possible the work that we're doing. And so we got media coverage around the December 1st launch of the flu campaign. We showcased the Farm Share program. We were glad that that got showcased through the Bronx Times Reporter. And we've been talking about coronavirus and why we should not be surprised that the Bronx was so significantly hit with coronavirus. because of the long-standing determinants of health that has kept the Bronx at 6-2. Next slide. This work that we showcased in brief today, you should all know, could not have been done without our partners. None of this would have been possible. We've had the most amazing partners who have been providing leadership in this work, and we thank them. Next slide. And then this work gets done because of funding. I mentioned the CDC. We also have funding from New York State Department of Health, funding from Health and Hospital Services, Office of Minority Health, that funded our Healthy Children, Healthy Families, the American Heart Association, Health and Hospitals, and New York City Department of Health and the New York City Council. Thank you. And 2021 will be a year that we will continue to do the work that we're doing and more. Next slide. And I think that was our last slide. I just realized that somebody sent me a message. I did not hear it. Sorry about that. That my phone was digging or dragging. Hopefully you at least heard most of what we wanted to showcase about our work for 2020. Dr. Long, are you yet with us? All right, let us continue. So we wanted to showcase, but have people themselves, have partners themselves talk about some of the work that they've been doing, the resiliency that they have shown in light of COVID-19, that even with COVID-19, while they may have had to pivot, they may have had to go virtual instead of in person, they've been able to continue doing amazing work. And so first we're going to hear from Judy and Karla from the Morrisania WIC program. Judy and Karla.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
So I'm introducing Judy, and forgive me for my face not being here. I'm on my phone to talk, and I'm on my video on my computer to see. So I want to introduce our, COVID has been a challenge for all of us, and helping breastfeeding mothers and families has been a challenge. And we did our very best to pivot, and Judy's going to give details of that. Shout out to Judy, who facilitates, she and AFSA facilitate the Baby Cafe every Thursday, and what an amazing job they have done. And I'm going to turn it over to Judy to go through and all that we went through and get ready.
Well, thank you. Good morning, everybody. It's an honor to be here and represent Baby Cafe. And we're happy to be partnering with Bronx Health REACH. As we know, breastfeeding is nutrition. It's the first food. So we feel like we fit in really well. So next slide, please. So this is one of the Baby Cafe boards that's usually outside of Morrisania. And so I kind of made it into part of a slideshow that we do virtually when women sign on. Next slide. So Baby Cafe is an initiative creating breastfeeding friendly communities, and it's targeted at underserved neighborhoods to provide breastfeeding support and information to pregnant women and to breastfeeding families. And the Thursday before the pandemic, we met in person in the building in Morrisania as usual. And sometimes I like to have a theme. So it was recently International Women's Day. So we talked about that. Next slide, please. And we talked about the superpowers that women have, that we grow humans and that we make milk. And so pregnancy, birth, and breastfeeding as superpowers of women was our discussion that day, not knowing what was going to happen right around the corner. Next slide, please. So this was part of the news that on March 15th, the schools would close. And this was, I think the word of the day is pivot. Everybody was beginning to have to pivot, whether it was schools or work or Baby Cafe. We were all having to make very quick and huge adjustments. Next slide, please. So the next week we had our social distancing cafe. This was my attempt to be safe, is we just moved all the chairs about 8 feet apart, and we were preparing for people to join us, and nobody came, which was not surprising because it was a week of shock. So then we decided that we were going to have to keep moving, keep pivoting. Thanks to Karla. Next slide. That weekend, we had our March 22nd, we had our 10-point plan, New York on pause. And it was interesting to look back at some of the 10 points that we were dealing with. Next slide, please. All non-essential businesses closed, non-essential gatherings, and concentrations of individuals basically working, and lots of talk about hand sanitizer and washing of hands. So we knew, even though we were planning to go virtual, we knew now that we really had to do it. Notice there's nothing about masking here. It's interesting to watch the journey of what we knew and did not know as the pandemic rolled out onto us. Next slide, please. So when you're at work and you have to look like this, you start thinking about how are you going to keep your moms and your families safe as we continue to offer them the services that they need. Next slide, please. So the week after that, we had our first virtual cafe, and we used Zoom. Thanks to Karla, we were able to set that up, and the cafe was basically me sitting at that chair talking to one mom who was English speaking, and we had known each other for a while on that computer. And that particular mom remarked over the months that sometimes this was the only contact with other people outside her household she had, and she was very grateful for that. Next slide, please. Then we got to the mask it up part. You started seeing signs, there was public messaging. We knew that it was important to be masked and to really do our best to keep ourselves and each other safe. Next slide, please. At this time, Health in Hospitals was making available a lot of good materials for those of us who work there. And I particularly liked this slide of empathy during a crisis. These are skills that we all have who counsel, but they were called into use to a much higher degree, and they still are as the pandemic continues. So we had to take our skills to the next level as lives became more complicated, financial issues. As we said, there were all kinds of things happening civilly and medically in our country and in our world. Next slide. So because humans are social by nature and we rely on being able to cooperate and collaborate to survive, we cannot survive well without social interaction and support, and we depend on each other. So we were committed to continuing Baby Cafe without interruption. Next slide, please. So again, by the next week, Karla had a new plan, and the new plan was WebEx. And we chose WebEx because for us, it seemed like the easiest platform to help a mom access something that was going to happen on a weekly basis. You know, once she got in the first time, it was very simple to rejoin. So we had these memes that could be texted or emailed to anyone who was interested in the community. And Baby Cafe, although it was physically located at Morrisania, where the WIC program is in the same building, it is not a WIC program. It is a community-wide free program, and anybody can come. Next slide, please. So Karla came up with these bilingual instructions on how to access the WebEx meeting, and we had several amazing peer counselors to help any mom in whatever language she required. And we also have Afsa and Adama, who are French speaking. But our cafes, we split into English and Spanish. Usually the cafes were English and Spanish and French kind of at the same time, but it was it was complicated to do that. We wanted to give each group of moms their own space to hear things in their own language. And so since the pandemic, we have been doing English Cafe at 11 and in Espanol at 1. So this was the instructions. And if women needed help, again, we had peer counselors who were able to take them through the process to get into the virtual space to the cafe. Next slide. And thank you, Karla. So this was my first attempt to do WebEx Cafe at home. This was an actual poster from the subway, which I got legally from the Transit Museum. It was a beautiful poem about caring for a baby, and I had this behind my head, but I realized you couldn't really see it because of the way the camera was positioned. Next slide. Oh, I think we went backwards. There we go. So this was our first WebEx Cafe. Cafe is virtual, but the support is real. And I realized also that I couldn't do anything but reading glasses. So that's me with my horribly reflective reading glasses that I'm wearing all the time now. Next slide, please. So we were learning about COVID together as a community. This was one of the early health and hospitals training courses that was made available to us. I think I took this back in April when it first came out. At the time, we thought that common COVID symptoms were fever, cough, trouble breathing, and the muscle aches. And then way down in the tiny print, we had loss of taste or smell and some of the other ones. And it turned out that for some of us, for my husband, the loss of taste and smell was really the thing that was the cue that this was likely COVID, along with the other things. And we still continue to learn, what does COVID look like and what is long COVID, and we're still in a learning process. Next slide. So I found that common sense is usually one of the first things lost in a crisis. There was a lot of fear and misinformation, and this was a note from April 13th where a mother gave birth at Jacoby, and her baby was in the NICU, and she wanted to give her baby her milk, and she was told that she would not be allowed to do that because it would be unhealthy to mix two kinds of milk, expressed milk and formula. Now, we know that this is scientifically completely inaccurate, but some of the moms were just getting such fear-based information, and even hospital staff was really not sure what was the right thing, what was the best practice, and that continued to evolve. This was at a time when moms were also having to birth alone, and Baby Cafe was a big support for moms in preparing them for this experience. And when I say alone, I mean without a beloved family or friend member. I recognize that healthcare providers are dedicated and caring, but we all know that that's not the same thing as having a beloved person with you in the room. Next slide, please. So this was one of our first cafes. This is the English-speaking cafe. I can tell by looking at the participants. The woman in the middle on the bottom was pregnant at the time with her second child, and her husband was working in Spain. So she was looking at birthing without her partner, without her husband, but she had no fear. She was an inspiration to everybody She was just ready to do whatever needed to be done to bring a healthy baby into the world. You can't see her belly, but she was due in June. Next slide, please. So this was one of our Spanish cafes, and the mom on the bottom left is exclusively breastfeeding, and this was her third child, and she felt like Baby Cafe gave her a place of support, and she's still breastfeeding this child who just turned a year, actually last week. And she was very happy, and it was a totally new experience to be breastfeeding longer than 2 or 3 months for her. And this was a nice place where she could come on a weekly basis and just get support for an experience that she had had, but never in this way before. And that's Afsa on the bottom right, smiling so lovely. And that's Josefina, and she is at every Spanish cafe as to help with my borderline Spanish at best. Next slide. So here's another cafe. In June, we had a mom whose baby had a tongue tie release, and she was coming for support, and she continued to breastfeed. There's the mom that was pregnant now with her newborn, and she had her baby, and at the time COVID rules had shifted again so that she was able to have a birth attendant. She was able to have a doula with her, which was wonderful. The woman in the middle is becoming part of Baby Cafe team. I believe she's going to be working in the Brownsville team, but at the time she was home in Queens and connecting to us in the Bronx. And even later in the year, I don't have a picture of it, but a spiritual sister of hers called in and became part of the cafe from Nigeria. So we were actually able to go global with Baby Cafe because, ironically, of COVID. Next slide, please. So there were lots of storms going on. I mean, we had the storm of the pandemic, we have the storm of systemic racism, and we have the storm of protests, necessary protests, and we had the physical storms. We had tropical storms, and this was a local playground near my apartment. And in all of these storms, we just keep going. That's what New York City does. That's what the Bronx does. Next slide, please. So we continue the cafe. We are on the journey with our families through everything that continues to happen. Next slide. And I just thought, we're in the storm, and then we have to be the rainbow. Next slide. This was in one of the training videos. I think a lot of people know this quote that people will forget what we've said and they forget what we did, but they will never forget how we make them feel. And we always try to keep that in mind. Our Morrisania Baby Cafe is, and I want to thank everybody, it's Afsa, me, Adama, Josefina, Jasenia, and our tech whiz and leader, Karla Lewis. Next slide. So, and thank you, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. That's it.
Judy and Karla, thank you so much. For those of us who can see, that's an amazing job. That's what we're talking about. Amazing resiliency that we've shown in these very tough times. Kudos to you. The next person and initiative we want to showcase is Monifa Maat from Southbridge Fitness Center. Hi, Monifa.
Hi there. How are you, Ms. Roddick? Very good.
Good to see you. Good to see you, Monifa. Good to see you. So tell us about the work that Southbridge has done in this very trying year.
Well, thank you so much. And pardon the block screen. This is the time frame that we actually do our special home fitness workout, the 1 gallon workout. And this is something that I have to say, yes, we are a fitness center, but we're not just any sort of big box fitness center. We always catered to older adults. We always catered to those individuals that could never envision themselves in a fitness center. We always catered to families. That's what we're about, lifestyle fitness. So when COVID hit, our two centers, the one in Manhattan, which is located near the South Street Seaport area, and then the second center, which is located in the Myrtle Avenue area, which, by the way, people thought, Myrtle Avenue, what? You have the projects right across the street. And, you know, then you have the $3 million townhouses way in the back. So Southbridge Fitness Center was literally in the middle. And that brings us to our mission, which is all about bridging communities together through fitness and health. That is our thinking. So while people thought we were a little bit crazy, you know, they said, well, there's 4 senior centers over here. There's a project there. What are you guys doing? Well, it turned out that it took some time. It took a few months, but by the time the community realized that we were there to stay, that this was not a gimmick, that we were there for the communities, we were beginning to do a lot better. People would come in, they wouldn't know whether it was a fitness center or a senior center or a community center. Mothers who work were bringing their children, wanting something constructive for them to do after school, whether it was boxing or karate or TRX or whatever, you know, because we're a full service, it's small, but we're a full service fitness center. So fast forward now, we just got in there. Ribbon cutting ceremony, March 2019, Borough President, future Mayor of New York City, Borough President Eric Adams there, cutting the ribbon. And, you know, I'm behind the scenes and my partner, literally, so you can see I'm in my kitchen, right? Because this is where we do our fitness now. But just continuing the story, because you got to hear this. Okay, so ribbon cutting ceremony, each month we're seeing the gains, we're seeing, you know, we're getting better and better. The community is supporting more and more. Then COVID hits. When we're finally in the, I guess in the black, not in the red. And we got the word that we had to shut down. Well, something like this, I mean, obviously you realize what must have been going through our minds. And we regrouped in a few hours, literally, because that's all we had. And the next day, I kid you not, we got on the phone, or rather got on the computer and signed up for a Zoom account and said, okay, what are we gonna do? Let's just keep doing what we're doing, because the older folk, you know, we even started an active agers group. We even hired a senior fitness trainer, Miss Yolanda Torres, whom I wish I could introduce you to her. She wasn't able, I think she had a doctor's appointment, was able to make it this morning, but she's literally over 70 years old, and her class was the largest class we had. So we got on the phone with her. So we decided that we would continue on Zoom. Now this was difficult because a lot of our members, you know, who were like the 55 plus and the 60 plus, were not trying to hear anything about Zoom. They were like, Zoom what? So we were on the phone with their grandchildren and their children, trying to help them and acclimate them to what we were doing. And although well-meaning, some of them, you know, while some of them didn't come back, we were able to slowly start building in May an active agers group online, which is basically connected to Silver Sneakers. I'm not sure if you all have heard about that. It's a Silver Sneakers, which many health insurance companies offer seniors free gym memberships. Now, let me just say something. Gym memberships doesn't just mean utilizing treadmill, you know, and coming and utilizing, you know, the stair stepper. We offered classes, actual customized class training. So long story short, we started doing that in May and have been continuing ever since. They designed their own music, the seniors, you know, everybody was kung fu fighting, you know, all those songs from like the 60s and the 70s and the 80s. So they have their group at 11, which is coming up in about 13 minutes. Our group, now here's the best thing, and this is the message that I want to get across. You know, it was Adam Clayton Powell. This is a life lesson. It was Adam Clayton Powell III, the famous politician, that said, you know, when you're wondering which way to turn, which way to go, I'm paraphrasing, He said, what's in your hands? Look at what you got in your hands to help you move you forward. So we did that. And we said, what do we have? Well, we have this is my slides. We have a water bottle. So we started developing, I wish you could see here, I have about 15 water bottles on the floor. So we started a workout utilizing our water bottle. And we call it the 1 gallon workout. And so, and why the 1 gallon? Because we found through trial and error, some people didn't have a TRX. Some people didn't have even free weights. Some people don't have a barbell at home. Some people don't have a resistance band. I'm sure all of you do, but some people don't. So we said, what can we use that everybody has? And we decided to use a gallon. If I drop this gallon right now on my foot, I wouldn't feel a thing, right? So we wanted a workout that was safe, that was effective, and that utilized strength training. Because particularly as you age, you lose muscle mass. Can't see that in this dress because I can put on a dress too, right? You lose muscle mass. So we were, and I'll tell you this, around that time, my mom had a terrible fall, and she broke a bone, okay? And this was right around that time. Suffice it to say, she started on the 1 gallon workout, and now she called me a half an hour ago and said, listen, I'm at Target. Did you need anything from Target? So she doesn't even need her cane anymore. I just make her use it. So when I say that these exercises truly work, they work. And so we started doing the exercises, and then people started getting interested. We heard from Bronx Health REACH, and we were just so delighted to be working with Bronx Health REACH, who has been a staple in the community and affecting and helping to uplift the health of children and families. And so to us, it was a perfect match. So we said, yeah, not only are we providing the 1 gallon workout, what else do we have in our hands? We have we partnered with Be It Enterprises, my company, with Southbridge Fitness Center. And this is the book that we have, which is called Bed Aerobics Fitness Flow, 18 mind-body bed exercises for strength, flexibility, and balance. This is a book that actually was endorsed by Emblem Health and by cardiologists, Dr. Fergus from Mount Sinai, and by a lot of different physical therapists who said these are excellent exercises. If you're blessed enough to wake up in a bed and blessed enough to go to sleep in a bed at home, you can do these exercises no matter your age or your fitness ability. So we combined the two and said, okay, these are going to be our signature home fitness workouts that we're going to offer the family. We call it the Southbridge family. And so that's what happened. Let's see what other things. And during the time off, per se, which we never took off, we started working literally the day after. And I will say that many of our members actually decided to stay on, even if they couldn't, based on their work schedule, participate in our 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. classes. They said, charge me anyway, because I see what you all are doing, and we'll get everything straight when this whole COVID thing is over, which we did. And that was just talking about it just makes me emotional, because they understood that there was no income coming in. But we still had members that were willing to just say, just charge me, charge my account. You know, those were the $3 million townhouses behind us. But we had quite a few, of the others who could not afford to pay either. But this is what I wanted to show you. So during that time, this is the Mount Sinai logo. We decided to use our time wisely, and in our off times, we actually became certified community health advisors under the Mount Sinai Hospital Center for Spirituality and Health. So literally, I have my certificate. We are both, me and my partner, Martin Otto, who, by the way, is the former Mr. Ghana of Africa. He is literally the former bodybuilding champion. You can Google him. He is who we partnered with, Be It Enterprises, partnered with Southbridge Fitness Center to offer all of this. So we are all community health advisors. And so we are now giving lectures, 1-hour lectures, to various congregations, if you're a faith-based organization, or even if you're a sorority or a fraternity, any sort of organization, but mainly we work with faith-based congregations. We provide training and awareness in areas such as diabetes, heart disease, mental health, COVID-19, lifestyle medicine, prostate health, oral health. These are all things that we are certified to speak about. And, you know, given our personalities and our crazy selves, you know, we try to make it fun. And, but it's basically to the book, but we, you know, we try to create some level of fun in everything that we do. So I know that I've been talking and talking, but I just wanted to make sure that everybody had a good sense of what we've been doing and more. But those are some of the highlights.
Monifa, that's why we wanted you to talk at our coalition meeting. That's why we wanted to showcase the resiliency of folks like you and Wick and the other folks that are gonna come after, because it's an amazing community that refused to be daunted by COVID-19. There was such a commitment to the respective work that we're doing. And so we applaud you as we applaud the others. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you. And
thank you so much. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to log off because the active agers are gonna like, they're gonna get me because they want to do their kung fu fighting. And I don't want to make them mad.
No problem.
So thank you all. Thank you.
All right. Thank you again.
And Kelly and everyone. Kudos. We're honored to be a part of you.
Amazing work. Amazing work. Thank you. We are so proud of our partners. We're going to hear from Sandra Jenkins from Church of God of Prophecy and Flora Goldston from Walker Memorial Baptist Church, talking about the work that they have been doing that has displayed such resiliency in the face of COVID-19. Sandra and Flora? Flora, you're on mute.
Hello.
Hi.
Should I go first or Flora?
You can go, Sandra.
Okay, Flora. I'll be brief. That it's been quite a year. A lot of rethinking, reimagining, trying to figure out how we can still get the job done. I thank God for our pastor, Bishop McKay. He's always been one who is concerned with our community, and it kind of passes on to all of us. And there's a great team that I work with. And without this team, I don't know how we would have gone through with our Health Bucks program this year. Because as was previously stated, there was so much uncertainty and things were changing day by day. So we were trying to figure out a way that we could work this out. And thank God, previous years, we had been using a concept where we would have captains, people, you know, that had been working with the health for a while. They were reliable, and they would take groups actually on trips to the farmers markets, so that they would give out the health bucks at the farmers markets, which would make it much easier for us to track and encourage people to use them. So we kind of got together, Lorraine Suazo, Maria, and we called up people because we weren't meeting. People who had used health bucks before. They weren't all members of the church, but they were, you know, people that either come to church or that we had met in some kind of way. And so we called them, we spoke with them, we tried to find out what farmers market was near them. And then we asked for them to let us know what's the best time that they could meet us there so that we could hand them out. And so we were able to kind of plan for these kind of captains to meet those people at that specific time and hand out the health bucks. And the way we did it, we put them in envelopes. We wrote the names on them. The health department did not require the signatures. And we kind of adapted and asked them to please just take pictures of the items that they purchased and send to us as sort of a backup. So we were trying to keep it as less contact as possible. And so we would meet them at the farmers markets near them and hand them the health bucks. And it was really hard because some of these people we had not seen in 3 or 4 months, and some of them were very dear friends, but we had to resist the urge to run and grab them. And I think that was the hardest part, to see our church members and not be able to, really greet them. But we gave them out, and they were pretty cooperative and trying to remember to send the pictures in of the things that they purchased. And then on the second part, we had a lot of members that weren't able to work from home, and they were still trying to do, they were still doing their jobs as first responders. So we tried to work with them. Many of them worked in hospital situations or worked near a farmer's market. So we tried to arrange to meet them where they were working. And we were able to do that for several of them. And then there were some that we asked them how many they needed and if they would commit to make sure that they send them out. And we followed up. And so we were able to give out some more that way. And those we kind of dropped off at houses. I think the thing that stands out for me most is that the people that worked with me, they were so dedicated and they were willing to put on their PPE and go out there and, wait on people and hand them the health bucks. And it made it much more possible and much more enjoyable. And we even had a couple of our youth that went and purchased for our seniors. And I thought that was amazing. For them to take that on to do and drop it off at their door. So we had a great turnout. We were able to give out 400 health bucks this year, and we verified all of them except for maybe 25 or so that we haven't been able to verify that they were used, but we're still encouraging them. So we had to reinvent a bit, but thank God for helpers and workers that were willing and had the commitment to work together to do that.
Wonderful. Well, thanks to Pastor Bush at Walker Memorial. He encouraged us to continue to get the health bucks and to try to give them out as best as we could. So the group that I worked with, they were very helpful and very, very agreeable in all the different things that we wanted to do. I still kept a log. All the health bucks that I did give out, some I mailed out, some I delivered. They just had to come downstairs and stick their hand in the car and pick out and get their envelope and stuff like that. Some of us went to the market together, but 6 feet apart. But what I encouraged them to do was to make sure they take pictures. Even if I couldn't go with them to the market, they went with other people to the market and they sent in pictures of the market, them picking up their fruits and vegetables. Some of them that made up different dishes from the fruits and vegetables, they even sent me pictures. I did squash, I baked it in the oven, I put cheese on the top, I did this. Different little things that they cooked, they made sure they called me on the phone. And well, you can't taste it, but when things get better, we can get together. But we practiced PPE and everything went well with the market. We do have a food pantry at our church. So I picked up different things for the food pantry and they were very helpful because people, we served over some days on Saturdays, like 200 or 300 people came by the pantry to get food. So the health bus came in handy for them also. And also that everyone was so encouraged by the health bucks and all the different things that was helping them out. They were encouraged to continue to spend them. I called them on the phone to make sure they spent the health bucks. They got sick of me calling on the phone, but I called them anyway to encourage them to spend them. I didn't give them to you for you to put them in a closet, to put them in a drawer. I want you to go and spend the buck. So they would go spend, take a picture. See, I spent them. Then they held them up in their hand, telling me all the different things that they bought. We also used the farm share at Word of Life. We ordered things from them and picked it up for different seniors that couldn't come out, and I delivered the bags to them. Since I had a car, I was able to deliver the bags to them. I got the stamps one time, 400, and then they gave me another 400. So I had about 800 health bucks that we were able to use. We used them all, and everybody spent them all. So we had a great time. Everything went quite well for us. Thank you.
Flo and Sandra, amazing work. Together with the other partners that we showcased, it conveyed powerfully how even in the time of a pandemic, resilience won out, right? We learned to adapt, we learned how to shift things, but we still kept the faith that we are in the business of improving the lives and well-being of Bronx residents. And for that, I applaud you. And somebody did something yesterday that I'm going to borrow. I'm gonna ask folks to just come off their mute, and so that they can hear us applauding them hear the sound of the applause. We would have had a thunderous applause if we were together.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much. This is why we are a coalition. This is what we mean when we talk about partnership. Thank you all so much. Next, we are going to give out innovation awards, continuing our focus on the partners who have made this work possible in one of the most impossible of situations this year. Immaculata, you want to pull up the innovation? Our first innovation award is to Corbin Hill Food Project. I think Dennis Derrick is there. Dennis, on behalf of Bronx Health REACH, we just want to applaud you for what Corbin Hill did this year when you quickly pivoted from your mission of setting up a farm share program throughout New York City to feeding the most vulnerable in the city. You helped, in addition to feeding folks, you helped secure jobs for Black and Brown folks who have been incredibly hard hit during this time. Through the program, you were able to deliver 66,000 food boxes, 594,000 meals, 720,000 pounds of food to New York City residents across the city. And for that, knowing the conditions you had to work in, the difference that you made in the lives of so many cannot be overstated. Mayor de Blasio, there's a quote from Mayor de Blasio: before coronavirus, we thought somewhere around 1 million people are food insecure and needed food. Now we think that number is 2 million or more. And Corbin Hill, through your work, has made a significant dent in that. And so, Dennis, we applaud you. Let's see. I'm trying to see if Dennis is still on. Dennis, if you're...
Charmaine, this is Erica. I work with Corbin Hill, and Dennis he had another call that he had to be on, so he asked me to accept the award on his behalf. So thank you so much for providing us with this award. We're very honored and just so grateful to be able to not only provide emergency food assistance in this very unprecedented time, but to be able to use it as an opportunity to invest in the Black and Brown communities most impacted by this awful pandemic. So thank you so much for honoring our work, and we have are continually inspired by the work of Bronx Health REACH and all the coalition partners and the ability for everybody to pivot in this time.
Thank you, Erica. Thank you for the very hard work that you've done as part of the Corbin Hill Food Project. We are, it's a partnership that we are so proud to be involved with. Thank you. Our next innovative award goes to community food advocates. When COVID-19 closed down the schools, community food advocates jumped into action the very next day. They created a space for parents, school-based partners, and other community members could come and share their questions, their concerns, talk about where gaps in the emergency food service was directly with Office of School Nutrition and Food Services. At the same time, what they were able to do, they created an interactive map of schools and other sites that were opened for emergency food services. They created an extensive resource library of materials about pandemic EBT. And for this amazing work that they have done once again in the area of food that has struck so many during this time, we applaud community food advocates for the community-driven communications network that they built around emergency school food and PBT. Thank you. Is Liz here?
I'm here, yes. Hi, Charmaine.
Hey, Liz, thank you so much.
Thank you.
This is a small way of highlighting the amazing work you did in these very tough times.
Thank you. This is lovely. We, my colleagues, Anna and Addie, I believe, are on the line. So we want to extend thanks to Bronx Health REACH for your partnership through all this. And, you know, we really appreciate, it's very nice to get recognition for the work that we do, and also that we're all doing together, because really our efforts, our collective efforts, that's how we have an impact and a reach. So thank you very much.
Thank you again. Thank you so much. Our next innovative award is to FRESH, with its unique spelling, F-R-E-S-C-H, the FRESH initiative in the bodegas. I had spoken earlier about that when I did our year in review. This FRESH initiative is championed by Shana. I'm not even going to try and pronounce his first name. I'm going to use a name that I know him by, Sean Butler, who is a longtime Bronx Health advocate who's been has been championing this project to mix hip hop culture with food justice advocacy. For 10 years, Sean has been teaching his own hip hop curriculum for children that includes a healthy scavenger hunt and remixing popular hip hop songs with lyrics about health. It has been adapted and offered as a curriculum for youth at PS 36 to include the Fresh Healthy Bodega project. This is an innovative way that has tapped into the Bronx cultural norms around hip hop, incorporating this message that raises the awareness about what it means to eat healthy, employing a strategy that involves branding the fresh, utilizing social media, and including education as part of this grassroots community-driven effort to make healthy grab-and-go foods part of what we see what we want to see, hope to see, and have started seeing in several of our Bronx bodegas. Sean?
Can anyone hear me?
Yes,
can you hear me?
Can.
Okay. Thank you, guys. My name is Sean Butler, and was born and raised here in the Bronx, right in Bronx, Lebanon. And you know, my family's from Savannah, Georgia. So like the Great Migration, when it happened, because of all the stuff that people may see in the civil rights era videos, that's what brought my family to the Bronx. They were trying to flee the South to come to the Bronx, to come, you know, further north. So growing up in the age of like redlining, you know, I saw like the inception of like hip hop, and hip hop was all about the fresh. You know, everybody had fresh music, fresh style, fresh clothing, and it was an art form that was created with no instruments. So just taking that concept and just remixing it with fresh fruits and vegetables, and then getting the community buy-in, because it's, you know, culturally relative. You know, being anybody born and raised in the Bronx, you know that we created hip hop. So it just was a great mixture. And, you know, so far it's at 3 bodegas, at Green Earth Deli on 382 Webster Avenue on the corner of 205th Street. It's also at G Deli on 551 East, 178th Street. No, 176th Street. And it's also the Fresh Healthy Grab and Go initiative for Bronx Bodegas is also located at Billy's Deli at 883 West Fordham Road. So yeah, the Fresh initiative is just basically like mixing hip hop culture with food justice advocacy. It's a Fresh Healthy Grab and Go initiative for Bronx Bodegas, where most Bronxites on the daily go to buy their food. And it just gives like a healthy option. And as you guys all do health work, so you know that access to healthy food is very limited here in the Bronx, and is one of the major contributors on why we are number 62 out of 62 options when it comes to, you know, health in the Bronx. We're number 62 out of 62 counties. That's not options. So I'm a little nervous. You know, Charmaine, I want to thank you, Kelly, Michael, the whole Bronx Health REACH staff for, you know, believing in this idea and taking the risk. And, you know, even when the pandemic hit and everything pivoted, the support was still there to keep going. And it was one of the major drivers why I was able to keep pushing and speaking with bodegas and having them buy into hosting the Grab and Go initiative in their stores, because even during the pandemic, they were essential businesses that were still open, and our communities were still going there to purchase food. So now the community has healthy Grab and Go options in 3 stores that they can now go to and you know, try to increase their health by having healthy food in their stores. So I truly appreciate you guys. You know, thank you. I'm honored to get this award.
Thank you very much, Sean, for the efforts that you continue to put into making healthy food available in the Bronx with that unique hip hop culture flavor to it. Thank you so much. Our next awards are 2 people that we just heard from. Church of God of Prophecy, Sandra Jenkins is going to accept that award. And also Walker Memorial Baptist Church, Flora Goldston, as they both just spoke, describing the innovative ways and means that they utilized to have to get and distribute health bucks, and for the participants, the recipients of the health bucks, to use them. You heard Flo describe how she nicely nagged her congregation members and community residents members, and you heard Sandra speak about really rethinking how they did things. So we want to acknowledge them by this innovation award to first the Church of God of Prophecy. Sandra, I don't know if you wanted to add anything else to what you had said earlier.
I don't want to add anything. I just want to thank you for recognizing us with this award. On behalf of Pastor McKay, I thank you. And it's a privilege just to help fulfill the mission that we believe that God gave us here on earth. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. And thank you to Reverend McKay and all the others there. Flo? Walker Memorial Baptist Church.
Yes, on behalf of Pastor Bush, we thank you for this honor. We appreciate it, and we are here to serve in any way that we can. God bless you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Flo. Our next honoree is Food Ed Hub, the Tisch Food Center and Food Court. You know, when the schools closed their doors during early in March, when the pandemic really took a hold of us here in New York City, in addition to just the challenge of children being taught online, there was the challenge of what happened with getting children and their parents to eat. And so school-based partners were faced with that very serious dilemma of how to make sure their schools could continue offering nutrition education programming, as well as to connect with new schools. And Food Hub, that fosters collaboration, coordination among school-based food and nutrition education organizations to make sure that resources are aligned, increase efficiency, identify best practices that can be brought to scale. Food Ed Hub quickly figured out that they also needed to pivot to this very new universe, this very new world that we all had to adapt and dwell in. And so they had their e-learning hub that was linked to the DOE website, provided an online resource library of video lessons, distance learning curricula, all of this done in order to keep the teachers, the students, and their parents connected to the New York City nutrition education program that was suspended for those many months when the schools were closed. And for that, we want to honor and award Food Ed Hub for the innovative way they responded in a situation that none of us could have anticipated. Is Pam or?
Here, yeah.
Oh, great.
So first of all, I want to say thank you so much for this. And we are so honored to be among all of the amazing organizations getting this innovation award. And I'm here accepting it, but it's not for me. It's for the 100 organizations that do food and nutrition education in public schools, which before the pandemic, as Charmaine just said, were teaching kids to be advocates for food justice, getting them experiences growing foods in gardens, cooking, learning about school meals and how they provide for them and getting them excited about school meals. But how does that happen when schools are not in session? These organizations, many based on the ground in all the communities across New York City, did an amazing job figuring it out. And we just gave them the showcase. And Charmaine, I'm going to steal your quote from before, which is that even in a pandemic, resilience won out. And that's exactly what these organizations did. So we're accepting it on behalf of all of the organizations that work so hard to make sure our school children still get these great experiences about food. And I think one of our steering committee members, Andrew Barrett, is going to say just a short bit as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam.
Great, thank you. I don't think I could say it any more eloquently than Pam there, but just, yeah, I mean, because food education work in New York City communities is really traditionally emphasized that in-person, hands-on programming, you know, getting hands in the soil and, you know, celebrating culture and community through preparing and sharing food together. You know, organizations across the city really had to make some pretty incredible quick adjustments to virtual platforms and still try to create space for like rich and positive experiences for the community. So yeah, you know, we're happy, so thrilled to accept an innovation award on behalf of the hard work of all those many people and organizations in the coalition, and you know, especially to Center Pam, Julia, Claire, and team who really dedicated the time and resources to even through the COVID crisis, really support that ongoing work. To ensure that every New Yorker, regardless of race, class, geography, have healthy food access and education. So yeah, thank you so much to Bronx Health REACH for your partnership, support, and your recognition of all that work.
Thank you, Andrew. And then I spoke about the unusual occurrence of having Boogie on the Boulevard morph into a virtual boogie. And so we want to acknowledge a really innovative transformation. And so to the Boogie on the Boulevard steering committee that put on their creative thinking caps and quickly figured out that we could still have Boogie on the Boulevard, but in a new way that reflected our new reality. We want to acknowledge their innovation and hope that Daniel is on the line to accept it on behalf of the committee.
Yes, hi. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, yes, no, thank you. And definitely, and I asked Jeremiah to come on, hopefully he's still on, and definitely like the Bronx Health REACH team and, you know, Department of Health. It was really a team effort, just like I'm hearing from everywhere else. And it was a hard decision because Boogie is about being outside, being in community, being active, and making that shift was a difficult decision for us. And we're very happy that it happened. And I know Ema from the Bronx Health REACH team, you know, did huge things with her virtual events. And just want to thank Bronx Health REACH and all the partnering organizations in Montefiore for all their support in making it a reality and having fun events, educational events, drone, learn how to fly a drone class that Judy arranged. So just really grateful for all the opportunities to give back.
Thank you. And to close out our innovation awards, while we do not have a certificate, we want to acknowledge the amazing work that our Bronx Health Action Center has done, the leadership they've provided, the connections they've made, making sure that Bronx Health REACH was in the loop with things, telling us all that they were doing in new and different ways, and making sure that the public health leadership that we needed was there. And so we want to acknowledge the Department of Health. Hopefully Anita Riz is still on, and we can just hear from her about the partnerships and how they've taken it in innovative ways. Anita, are you still on?
I am on. Thank you so much, Charmaine. I really appreciate this. And we are here to work with the community and see how we could get rid of COVID, right? Because I think that COVID really has taken over a lot of the work that we've been doing. So with that, I just want to say, I know that Dr. Jimenez is on the line. Just want to say thank you to the great work that you and everyone else on this call has been doing for the Bronx.
Thank you, Anita. We are almost at the end. I'm gonna ask folks to just bear with us. We have some announcements, and then I wanted to quickly issue us a call to action. Yesterday, December 3rd, would have been a year since we had our rally on the steps of City Hall. to draw attention to our local city officials about the fact that the Bronx is 62, that there's a campaign, not 62, the campaign for a healthy Bronx. It was last November. We also met with Mayor de Blasio to talk about the fact that we're not 62, to speak to the mayor about the fact that if we are to stop being 62, if our health outcomes are to start improving, then we need a major commitment from City Hall and from others. We actually told the mayor that what we needed was a Marshall Plan to get us out of being 62. And by that, we told the mayor the Bronx needs to be prioritized in terms of funding, in terms of agency prioritization, in terms of policies, that attention needed to be drawn. Our call at our rally last year, our call at our rally the year before, was that 62 will not do, we can do better, and we must do better. Next year, 2021, will be the election for a new mayor who will take office in 2022. It will also be the year for the election of a new borough president and several city council members who will take their office in 2022. We all agree that 2020 was a year of pandemic proportions: COVID-19, political pandemic, racial pandemic, economic pandemic. As I mentioned earlier before, none of us should have been surprised when the Bronx was the epicenter of COVID-19. I'm sure most of us were not surprised. I know I was not surprised. I was listening in on a call with Bronx state legislators yesterday. It was a sort of, I don't know if they would call it a summit. It was sponsored by the AARP. And while there were important things being discussed at that meeting, I never heard the mention of 62, which was distressing. And so I'd like to offer this call to action for us, that we call and we tell our state legislators about the Bronx being 62 and what are they doing about it, and that we expect them to be doing something about it. That we call the mayoral candidates and ask them what they plan to do about the Bronx being 62 and to improve our status. I'm calling us to take action. Many of us are doing it. I think we need to do it more. And more of us need to be doing it, to talk to our neighbors, our family, friends, congregation members, co-workers, teachers, classmates about being 62. Call to our Congress members. There's AOC, there's the Congressman-elect Richard Torres, etc. Call Senator Schumer and Gillibrand. Call Governor Cuomo, talk to them about us being 62. When you go to your doctor, talk to your doctor, talk to the doctor's front desk staff about us being 62, talk to your barber, your hairdresser, the teller in the bank or the check cashing place, talk to the man in your favorite bodega, talk to the cashier in the supermarket about us being 62. For those of us who are on social media, post about the Bronx being 62 and how it's unacceptable and we're expecting things to be done. President-elect Biden, when he gets sworn in as president on January 20th, he's going to lay out his first 100 days and what he wants to do. I'd like us as a coalition, as a community partnership, that for our first 100 days of the new year, we're going to be calling and speaking to everyone we possibly can that we come in contact with about us being 62 and why it's unacceptable, and 2021 we're expecting things to happen. In our health disparity work group, we had what we call circle captains, that where many of the partners went out and talked to people in their circle of contact, their little network, about what their experiences were like living in COVID-19. And we thought that important because a lot of people have been talking about COVID-19, but we wanted to hear from the residents directly what were they talking about. And as we digested what they said, the Health Disparity Work Group members said, you know what, let us not be invisible anymore. Let us not be silent. So that's why I'm calling us to reach out and talk to the people who make policies, talk to regular everyday people about us being 62 and why not being 62 is our call to action for 2021. I'm also calling us that we can do things in our individual lives as well to commit to eating healthier, being more physically active, looking out for each other and our health. And that health includes our physical health, mental health, emotional health, spiritual health. Dr. Jimenez just spoke to us about what they're trying to do around trace and testing. Let us make sure that we're all doing our bit to mask up, to social distance, to stay home when it's at all possible. And let's keep saying to ourselves and to each other and to wherever we gather that 62 will not do, that we can do better and that we must do better. It is our call to action. With that being said, I want to wish all of you the very best of what's remaining for 2020. Be healthy, stay safe. We are looking forward to our partnership, strengthening our partnership in 2021. And I want to applaud all of you for the amazing work that you have done in these most challenging of times, that irrespective that we had this pandemic and irrespective of so many other challenges we had this year, we all, both collectively and respectively, rose to the challenge, and we were able to continue the work that we have charged ourselves to doing. So a special applause to everyone. Please remember the call to action. We must fight against being 62. Talk to everybody that you can about it. One last thing, we got an unexpected call last week from a school that had over 100 families that were in need of a Thanksgiving meal. I suspect that there will be many families and individuals who will be experiencing during this season where we have a heightened awareness of people being able to eat well, although it should not be only this time we're paying attention to it. But I would encourage all of us to feed somebody else if we can, and to help somebody else, clothe them, give them a coat or something, because in the final analysis, we are each other's keeper. Thank you so much. It was good having all of you with us. Thank you for all of you who shared the amazing work you've been doing. Be well and stay safe. Thank you.